Are you there, Jason?
Yes, I am. You're all set.
Okay. So we're live now with the Energy, Utilities, and Technology Committee. We're here today for a work session. I'm just going to start off by introducing myself. I am State Senator Mark Lawrence. I'm the Senate Chair of the committee. I represent Southern York County, which is Kittery, Elliott, South Berwick, Heart of Berwick, York, and Ogunquit. And with me, I think we have at least 8 people, and we're at the end of the session. So people are going to be coming in and out, but I'll try to get people who are here now to introduce themselves, and as other people join us to introduce themselves. So I'll start off with our Senate Republican lead, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Trey Stewart, and I am a state senator in District 2, which is 51 communities in Aroostook and Penobscot counties, and I reside in Presque Isle. Good luck with your March Madness brackets.
Good. Well, I was waiting for you to name all 51 communities. Representative Foster.
Good afternoon. I'm Steve Foster. I represent District 104, which includes the towns of Dexter, Exeter, Charleston, Garland, and Stetson.
Thank you. Representative Kessler.
Hi, my name is Chris Kessler. I represent part of South Portland and a little smidgen of Cape Elizabeth.
Great. Representative Wadsworth.
Good afternoon, everybody. Nate Wadsworth, representing House District 70.
And Representative Carlo.
Good afternoon. Nate Carlo from House District 16, which includes part of Buxton, all of Paul, and part of Saco.
Great. Representative Sachs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melanie Sachs. I represent House District 48, which is Freeport and part of Pownell.
And then the House Chair of the committee, Representative Berry.
Good afternoon. Seth Berry, House District 55, Bowdoin, Bodenham, most of Richmond, and the unorganized territory of Perkins Township.
Then Representative Grahowski.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nicole Grahowski. I represent House District 132, City of Ellsworth, and Town of Trenton.
Representative Ziegler. Representative Ziegler, if you could introduce yourself. His audio might be off, so I'll go to Senator Vitelli.
Good afternoon. I'm Eloise Vitelli. I represent Senate District 23, which is all of Saginaw County and the town of Dresden in Lincoln County.
And Representative Ziegler, I don't know if you can come back on or not. Looks like you're having connectivity issues. Okay, when you get, he says he's having problem with his sound. When he gets back on, I'll have him introduce himself. We have a quorum here, so I'll accept a motion to go into work session.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Representative Berry, seconded by Senator Stewart. All those in favor, just show your hands. I should have said hand because Kessler will take me literally. So we're going into work session, and we are in work session. And the plan today is to try to deal with 5 bills. We have 9 bills left in committee. The 5 bills we're going to try to deal with today are in this order: are LD 318, LD 1026, LD 1511, LD 2015, and LD 1340, and then last LD 2015. So we're going to try to deal with those in order. You have seen the published list of what we have tomorrow. We have gotten word from the presiding officers that we have to finish tomorrow. So my goal is to get at least half of our work done today, and then the remainder done tomorrow, so we can complete these 9 bills. So with that, any questions on the process? Don't see any hands. So I'll go directly to I believe it's Representative Grochowski's bill, LD 318. Representative Grochowski, do you want to give us an update on where we are at on this bill?
Sure, I would be happy to. Thank you all. I know you've had weeks and weeks and months to think about it, so glad we can finally work on it. LOL. Just, you did get a new amendment right around noon today. Thank you to our analyst Lindsay for sending that out, and it included, and it's highlighted in yellow, the language that was recommended by Public Advocate Harwood to make sure that the top paragraph was all inclusive of what all the bottom paragraphs said. It was an oversight that I'm glad he caught, which just adds examine options to Maine's current standard offer system. If there are any questions on that, or I'd be happy to make a motion to just
great. Well,
get this on the ball.
Why don't I ask Lindsay to bring up the amendments so we can all see it on the screen and the public can see it on the screen. Lindsay, if you're here and you can do that, that would be great.
Excellent.
And then I'll, if you want to go through anything, Nicole, that's fine, but you've given us a description. And if you want to make a motion, that would be fine. So Representative Grochowski, do you want to make a motion?
Sure. I move ought to pass as amended with this amendment.
And is there a second to that?
Second.
Seconded by Representative Berry. Debate, discussions, questions? I don't see any. Are we ready for a vote? Looks like we are. So Jason, why don't you call the roll?
Senator Lawrence.
Yes.
Senator Lawrence is a yes. Senator Vitelli.
Yes.
Senator Vitelli is a yes. Senator Stewart.
Can you circle back with me on this one, please, at the end of the roll call? I'm still teetering on the fence here.
Representative Berry.
Yes.
Representative Berry is a yes. Representative Cuddy. Not present. Representative Grochowski.
Yes.
Representative Grochowski is a yes. Representative Kessler.
Yes.
Representative Kessler is a yes. Representative Ziegler.
Yes, and
Representative,
I didn't introduce myself. I'm Representative Paige Ziegler for District 96.
Representative Ziegler is a yes on this. Representative Sachs.
Yes.
Representative Sachs is a yes. Representative Wadsworth.
No.
Representative Wadsworth is a no. Representative Grignon. Not present. Representative Foster.
No.
Representative Foster is a no. Representative Carlo.
No.
Representative Carlo is a no. Senator Stewart.
No.
Senator Stewart is a no. It is 7 in favor that ought to pass as amended, 4 opposed the motion, and 2 absent.
Okay, so I'll just ask the people who voted against the motion. Do you have an idea of what your report is going to be?
ONTP.
Okay, so we have 7 who voted ought to pass as amended. That's a majority, so that'll be the majority report. And then we'll have a minority report of ought not to pass, and 2 people we still have to hear from. So hopefully they will vote before it leaves our committee. Great. So now we can go on to the second bill, and that is LD 1026, an act to update the regulation of public utility monopolies.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Representative Berry.
Thank you. I think that this is an issue that we all understand pretty well. There are a couple of components. One very technical item regarding the definition of CEPs, cleaning up a piece of statute supported by the public advocate, the adjustments to solar net metering, and the improved version of local self-determination regarding utility service in a given area. And that followed on the bill that we heard last year. So my motion would be, I'll make it in the form of a motion, just to move us along, that we pass this bill as amended, the amendment being to change the language in the solar sections, the net energy billing sections, to have the ongoing inflation adder be based on CPI, to have a single affidavit be sufficient with respect to the commencement of construction, to fix the portion of statute relating to 2 megawatts versus 1.99, if you will. It was referenced by Mr. Mueller in his commentary, and to make the adjustment suggested by Mr. Kearns regarding safe harbor. And I think the language would be, if I'm not mistaken, in section 2 for that, 35A, 3209A sub 7. Lindsay, you can see me if you need clarification, but that is the motion.
Great. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
And that was Representative Kessler. Is that correct?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So it's been moved by ought to pass as amended with that amendment by Representative Berry, seconded by Representative Kessler. Debate or discussion? Well, I'm happy to start off the debate or discussion. I'm not going to be supporting this motion. And it's largely because I don't think we're ready to really do the municipal stuff. And we've done the net energy billing stuff in Senator Stewart's bill. I understand the 4 changes, and when I get a chance, I'm going to discuss those with Senator Stewart if we can do it in committee with a friendly change, or if I potentially may offer it as a floor amendment on the Senate. But my vote is going to be, my minority report is going to be ought to pass as amended, with just that first section of the bill that was essentially some technical changes that Mr. Harwood, the public advocate, said he would be supportive of. And I welcome anyone who wants to join with me on my report. And up pops Representative Foster.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You always seem to zip something in at the end that I may not agree with. So not being sure I can join in with you on your report, I do agree with some of what you said. There are a couple of things in this bill that are somewhat attractive to me, but for the most part, most of it I can't see supporting at this time. Thank you.
Any other debate or discussion? Representative Berry?
Thank you. I would pose a question to Representative Foster through the chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Representative Foster, are there pieces of the bill that you find to be attractive? We haven't had the chance to discuss it, and I apologize for that, but I'm curious. You mentioned some pieces you like. Could you enumerate those?
Well, let me just say this. The pieces that I don't like far outweigh the small portion that might be acceptable. So I'll refrain from taking any more of the committee's time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Berry, if I may pose a question to you, you described your amendment being in 3 sections, correct?
Yeah.
The first
That's
section,
right.
Can you describe what that was?
Yeah, that's cleaning up the statute so that rather than using 3 different terms for what are generally referred to as competitive electricity providers, we just call them competitive electricity providers.
Okay, great.
Consistent.
And the second session was the language regarding COUs being able to take territory of IOUs. Is that correct?
The people themselves would need to do that, but yes, the self-determination piece is, I think it's sections 3 through 8, Lindsay, if I recall. Yeah.
And then the third section was the net energy billing section, correct?
Correct. That's
okay.
I think 9 and 10.
So just to clarify for Representative Foster, that first section is what will be the only thing in my amendment, my minority report. Clarifying the language around those providers. Senator Stewart?
Would it be possible to, okay, I guess I have two questions, one of which is procedural. When we get to the roll call, if we are going to go separate ways on a no vote here, would you like us to reflect that when we're recording the vote? And secondly, would it be possible to pull up the, I've got too many amendments on my screen right now, and I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right thing here in terms of what your minority report would be, Mr. Chair.
Sure. Lindsay, could you pull up Representative Berry's amendment, please, on the screen? And I will answer Senator Stewart's question. The answer is yes, you have to tell the analyst at the time of voting what your report is going to be. So Seth, do you want to point out the parts that constitute section 1 of the bill?
The first part of the bill that I believe you want to include in your amendment, Senator Lawrence, is section 1 and section 2. So the repeal of 35A MRSA section 102 subsection 2A, and then the enactment of 2B, which defines a competitive electricity provider. And then in that note to the revisor's office, there is a process to amend the statutes throughout in the sections you see in each of the instances that you see where a different term is used. Is that helpful?
Yeah, that's helpful. And so that's just to get a consistent definition of a competitive electricity provider in the statute.
Exactly right.
Okay. Okay. So is there anybody who is unclear what I indicated will be my report? Senator Stewart?
So, okay, I think you just explained this, but I just want to confirm that the minority report is basically just that cleanup language, and that's it.
My minority report will be sections 1 and 2 of what you're seeing as that amendment, and nothing else.
And nothing below that. Okay.
Yep.
All right. And so the effect of that is, can you walk through what the effect of that would be, please?
I can, but Representative Berry is going to be better, but it's essentially to clarify the definition in the statutes to make them consistent. Is that correct, Representative Berry?
That's right, Senator Stewart. There's our analyst actually provided this language to me in working with her on I think it was another bill. I came up against this problem where there are different terms used for the exact same thing in statute: competitive service provider, competitive electricity provider, and there's even, I think, one other term. No, I guess Lindsay's shaking her head. So it's just those two, and they provide electricity. It's all they do. So and that's the more consistent term that we use in statute, the more common term, I should say. So for consistency's sake, we would just use one. That is all that this bill would do, or all that the report, I don't know if it's a minority or a majority report, but all that the report from Senator Lawrence would do is to clean up that section of statute, be consistent, so that when people are reading our statutes, they hopefully have an easier time navigating them.
Questions, Representative Foster?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just if you would, to clarify, when the vote is taken, after the vote is taken, anyone in the opposition would have a chance to either join your proposed amendment or put in some other amendment or whatever, right? Correct?
Some other amendment, or have their report reflect ought not to pass. So Lindsay will poll the minority and say, what are you going to do? I will be indicating ought to pass as amended as that, and each of you can indicate what you want to do. Ought not to pass, or ought to pass as amended as I did, or ought to pass as amended in another fashion. Or even ought to pass. You could do that, Representative Foster. Does that clarify?
Yes, thank you for reminding me I have that opportunity.
Okay. Representative Barry, did you have something more you wanted to add? Oh, we need to be on mic.
Thank you. No, I think I've said enough. Thank you, Senator Lawrence.
Okay, Representative Sachs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I can pose a question to the sponsor to clarify some parts.
Sure, but I think Skeet wants to pose one first. I'm
Yeah.
kidding. Go ahead, Representative
I'm
Sachs.
sure Skeet's interested in the CPI index as much as I am. So Representative Barry, I just want to confirm this does feel like some substantive changes. And again, procedurally, I'd like to see these changes go through. And so it seems more certain to me that it would go through if we were to vote these changes in today rather than rely on a floor amendment, which could be confusing, or other or language review. I don't know if they're so substantive, but my question being around the CPI. And so does your amendment propose that goes back to the 2020 rates with then linked to CPI, or was there something else in there? I just wanted to be clear about the amendment. Thanks.
Thank you, Representative Sachs. And so I appreciate the desire to slow down and just make sure we've dotted the I's and crossed the T's. So yes, the CPI piece, and I kind of glossed it over, but that is one of the changes. I'll work with Lindsay. I'm happy to work with others on the report that join in with me to make sure we get it right. But the use of CPI for the adjustment of the rate going forward is really about making sure that we are reflecting the real cost of money, right? What is the value of $1 today? What is the value of $1 tomorrow? What is the value of $1 in 10 years? So CPI allows us to do that, and that's what we're getting at with this amended language.
Thank you. And I just wanted to clarify that was indeed what the language was, to be clear about that. And I have to say, again, because I'd really like to see these changes made, I would be supportive of the first section 1 and 2, and then the last sections of 8 and 9, or excuse me, of 9. I'm less certain about the 3 through 8 with the municipal. I've talked to you about this, Representative Barry, but I don't mind saying it to the committee, it feels like it's, and I'm still on the fence about this, so I welcome discussion from all parties, but I listened to the testimony, I read what was online yesterday, and I just have a pause about, are all, as you said, all the I's dotted. And so my comfort level at this late date in the session would be to remove that and then have the other 2 go through, because there is broad consensus, it sounds like, for those who voted for 634, but this makes sure that language gets in without any confusion either from those who aren't privy to our wonderful committee discussions and machinations over the last few days, and is just cleaner. And so that would be my preference, although I would love some discussion on the 3 through 8 with the municipal, but there was enough in the conversation that made me pause. So thank you.
And just to clarify the process, Representative Sachs, you also can come out with a minority report that just does the first section and the last section of the bill.
Yeah, I'm aware. So I thought I'd preview that for you, Mr. Chair, just putting it out there to see if any friends want to join me there.
Thank you very much. Representative Barry.
Thank you, Senator Lawrence. Representative Sachs, I'm happy if you want to try to answer any questions right now. I think the primary question, and we saw this as you know, with respect to a previous bill that I brought to this committee. It was a similar concept, but a little differently worded. The principal objection seems to be over sort of how costs should be allocated. And, I do understand that concern. And I think for some who, kind of are more apt to benefit from the current system that we use, or who prefer that approach, it's understandable to oppose the bill. I don't think you can provide for self-determination without also making it possible for someone to lose a little bit of service territory. So I get the concern. I think we have addressed the primary issue that led many of us to vote against the previous bill, because that really didn't satisfy Eastern Maine Electric Cooperative for very good reasons. This bill fixes that, so that's why I think we can vote for this and be comfortable that providing people some avenue for self-determination in their specific service territory is possible. And although it might upset, the status quo slightly for those who are, currently the winners in that system, it's not, it's a worthwhile trade-off. And at the end of the day, self-determination really should be a consideration for our public utilities. So, I just want to kind of slow it down, make sure you get to think it through, and looks like others have thoughts as well.
Representative Grahowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Representative Barry, maybe you can help with this, but my understanding was that this wouldn't happen without commission approval, and the commission would, I assume, sort of consider what were the consequences in one way or the other of this sort of localized energy independence initiative that might happen for people who are interested in joining a consumer-owned utility. Is that correct? Am I reading that correctly?
The commission would need to make sure that the process had been followed, that there had been a majority vote. And certainly if they felt that there were significant problems that developed as a result of this self-determination process, they could bring it to the committee for further changes. So yes, there's a commission process. There is also, I think the good process that we have here in the legislature to keep an eye on this, make sure it's working. But the investor-owned utilities did develop their service territory by, kind of purchasing the areas, or developing the areas that were most remunerative, and that's how these territories evolved. I don't think there's any particular magic to those territories other than that economic logic. It was the most rural areas that finally were served by the Rural Electrification Cooperative, because the IOUs had chosen not to serve those areas. And it was, 50 years into the evolution of electricity, people still didn't, farmers still didn't have electricity. So, I just don't share the fundamental logic that says that, that there's a magic to these maps, and that we have to respect them as they are now. I think that each of us in our communities should have a say in what those maps look like, and how our utilities are financed, and how they're managed.
Great. Let me get back on. I just had a text message I had to check. Representative Sachs, do you have any follow-up questions?
No, Mr. Chair, thank you.
I think that was me who asked the last
I'm
question.
sorry, Representative Grahowski. Do you have any follow-up questions?
I think not, but I will say that as a person who makes maps, I believe that so much of what we map is arbitrary, just completely arbitrary human distinctions, so we can make order of the world. Just a little philosophy for you this afternoon.
And if I could provide a little bit more information about where I'm at on this, Representative Sachs, my objection is not just to the part you mentioned. And first of all, I want to compliment you on staying up so late at night to watch our hearing yesterday. But my objection is also the takings issue, which Bill Harwood mentioned. My understanding, and I may not be exactly right, but when the IOUs created this territory, it was a agreeable buyer and seller. This would essentially be a non-agreement. And I trust the public advocate Harwood's opinion. He's a much better litigator than I am and has litigated many, many, many of these issues. And so I just express caution because I don't feel we've resolved those issues at this point, at this late date. You know, we're kind of at what I describe as 11:57 in the legislative session. I just think this is too much to try to resolve in this last 3 minutes. Representative Berry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I do appreciate our public advocate. He is absolutely an expert. You know, I do need to respectfully suggest that if there is a takings issue, and I don't believe there is, I think when just compensation is provided as required by the bill, that addresses the takings issue. But if in fact this bill does not imply a public exigency, which I think is its primary concern, then the court will certainly prevent it from going forward. I don't, you know, if that occurs, then that occurs, and we'll be right where we are now. But I do not believe that there's a way to further improve this bill to provide a foolproof solution to that. I think that we need to do what we can to allow for some local option and self-determination. And if in fact the bill doesn't accomplish everything that it sets out to do, because that process gets shut down in court. Again, I don't believe it will happen, but if that were the case, then we'd be right where we started. So there'd be no harm done, except perhaps a little more work for the lawyers who help to power part of our economy. Thank you.
It's the first time I've ever heard Representative Berry make that argument. Representative Sachs.
Well, I just wanted to invite you, Mr. Chair, to join me in my report of sections 1 and 2 and 9 as amended, because it does sound like you and I have perhaps some of the same areas of pause. Again, respectfully, Representative Berry, but I'm very on board with these other pieces. And for cleanliness and understanding, I really think that there sounds like great consensus over those two pieces, since we just passed 634. These are technical changes, but substantive nonetheless. And I believe inserting them cleanly into this bill and then supporting sections 1, 2, and 9 would be the most efficient. And I know, Mr. Chair, that you like that, as I do.
I will give it every consideration, Representative Sachs. You're very persuasive. Other debate or discussion on this bill? Seth, I see you have your hand up still.
Sorry, no, I left it up accidentally. And I guess I will just say, though, since I have the floor, Representative Sachs, if that particular issue of public exigency is a concern, can certainly incorporate that into the report and define this as a public exigency explicitly rather than implicitly, which is what's in the language now. I don't think it's necessary. I don't share the opinion of the public advocate in that regard, but I do understand the issue, and I think it's a simple matter to, address it in an amendment.
Representative Sachs.
And thank you for allowing this continued dialogue, Mr. Chair, while you continue to marinate about my fabulous proposal for you. But I would just say, this may just be, I'm deeply, deeply supportive publicly, I think many people know, of consumer-owned utilities and thoughtfully exploring that. For me, this may just be because I wasn't there for 695 and that entire, and I have gone back and looked, I've tried very hard. Yes, into the night, Senator Lawrence, in wee hours of the morning, making sure I'm doing my due diligence on this. That's why I feel so strongly that I really do support those other two. And perhaps just because of my own knowledge and lack of knowledge, and I don't mind saying that publicly, of just not being there for that sections 3 through 8. And so appreciate Representative Berry, your offers to do that. Just was not a place I could get to today, but really interested in the concept, really feel like you are putting forth a proposal that is not unwarranted whatsoever.
Thank you.
Representative Foster.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Being fully marinated now, I would move the motion.
Okay. There's been a motion to move the question. Is there a second to that? Okay, it fails for a second. Is there any, oops, I'm sorry. Is there a second? I didn't hear one.
I did second the motion.
You did second the motion. Representative Berry, show of hands. All those in favor of moving the question now? Okay, seems like everybody's in support with the exception of Representative Ziegler. I did not see your hand. Representative Grochowski, are you opposed to the motion?
I just wasn't really clear on what the motion was. It was like,
The
let's
motion
move
is
the
to move the question, cut off debate.
Okay, got it.
And are you in support of that or not?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Great, so it appears to be unanimous. I didn't see Representative Ziegler's vote. Representative Ziegler, are you in favor of cutting off debate?
I can't make my hand any more available than that.
Apparent, yeah,
Here,
okay.
Mr. Stillman, okay?
So I think it's unanimous to cut off debate, so we'll move directly to the question. Jason, why don't you call the roll?
Senator Lawrence.
No.
Senator Lawrence is a no. Senator Vitelli.
No.
Senator Vitelli is a no. Senator Stewart.
No.
Senator Stewart is a no. Representative Berry.
Yes.
Representative Berry is a yes. Representative Cuddy.
No.
Representative Cuddy is a no. Representative Grochowski.
Yes.
Representative Grochowski is a yes. Representative Kessler.
Yes.
Representative Kessler is a yes. Representative Ziegler.
Yes.
Representative Ziegler is a yes. Representative Sachs.
No.
Representative Sachs is a no. Representative Wadsworth.
No.
Representative Wadsworth is a no. Representative Grignon, not present. Representative Foster.
No.
Representative Foster is a no. Representative Carlo.
No.
Representative Carlo is a no. Is 4 in favor of the motion. 8 opposed to the motion and 1 absent.
Okay, so I can weigh in first for Lindsay what my minority report is, and just to explain it, I understand what you're saying, Representative Sachs, and I've thought about it. My concern is linking two issues together that may not have support, and I do want to get the technical change done. I'm going to go with just an ought to pass as amended with the first section described in it. That doesn't mean if you report out the other report, I might not move it on the Senate floor if I haven't been able to resolve those issues. But right now, I kind of want that one issue to go out separately. How about other people who are on the minority report? Why don't you weigh in? Representative Foster, I'll start with you. What's going to be your report?
I would ask to be added to your report, Mr.
Okay, thank you.
Chair.
And Representative Wadsworth?
On not to pass.
ought not to pass. We're going to have quite a report here. Representative Sachs?
As stated previously, I'm interested as to pass as amended with sections 1, 2, and 9. And that is because I truly believe those changes need to be made, as stated through Representative Barry, particularly the indexing to inflation, as well as the other ones. But definitely, I'm very worried that 634, for whatever reason, it wouldn't go through, and these changes need to be made. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to make Lindsay earn her money today. Representative Carlo? Oh, we can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
Oh, no, I have
There you are.
muted.
Yes. What's your report going to be?
Ought not to pass.
Okay. Senator Stewart?
I'm going to be going with you on your minority report, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Representative Cuddy?
I'll be joining Representative Sachs.
This is going to be fun. And I think we did Representative Ziegler. I don't see Senator Vitelli on here, so they'll have to weigh in, but it sounds like we're going to have a 4 report coming out of our committee.
Senator Lawrence,
Yes, Senator Vitelli.
I am here, and I would like to join your report, please.
Okay. So is that clear, Jason, kind of who's where? It sounds like we've got a 4, 3, 5, 4, 3, 2, 5, 2, 2 report. Is that correct?
4. I think I've got 4, 4.
4 with Barry. I believe it's
2,
3
2.
with me or
Yeah.
4 with me. I don't know.
I've got 4 with you.
Okay, and just repeat who
Or
they
3.
are.
Yeah. So for the ought to pass with Senator Lawrence is Senator Lawrence, Senator Vitelli, Senator Stewart, and Representative Foster.
Okay, so 4, 4, and then with Representative Sachs' report is 2 people. Is that correct?
That's Representative Sachs and Representative Cuddy.
And then 2 are on the ought not to pass. And is that
That's
correct?
Representative Carlo and Representative Wadsworth.
Okay, so 4, 4, 2, 2 report. Is that correct?
That's what I have with 1 absent.
Great. Okay. Great. So that will be the report on this. And now we can go on to the next bill, which is going to be LD 1511. I believe this is also Representative Barry's bill. And it's an act to finance distribution investments at the lowest cost to consumers and to encourage utility performance. And I believe there may be a title change in his amendment. Representative Barry, why don't you go over where we're at?
Thank you. The bill, as folks will recall, does 2 things. It creates a process for the evaluation by the PUC, if the PUC chooses to go forward with it, of an alternative form of financing a wires alternatives project. In other words, a project which went through the non-wires alternatives process and came out the other end as a wires alternative. So that's a known project. It's well understood. It's easily financed as a discrete project, and by saving money if the PUC chooses to go down that road, it also allows for some additional performance-based operations compensation for the utility. And then separately, it also does propose that our public utilities engage in competitive procurement. That is not currently required. One amendment that I would like to offer to this bill is to allow the Public Utilities Commission to exempt a utility from the competitive bidding requirements for specific circumstances. And those could include, but are not limited to, storm restoration. And further, to allow that designation to be done through routine technical rulemaking. So that allowance by the to the PUC to provide an exemption is the only change that I would offer to the bill. And I would move the bill ought to pass as amended with that amendment.
Great. Is there a second?
Second that, Representative Kessler.
Great. So it's been moved by Representative Barry, seconded by Representative Kessler. Debate or discussion among the committee? Looks like no debate or discussion. If Jason, you could go directly to the vote, and if you could just skip over me for 1 second, I just have to look something up.
Okay, Senator Vitelli. Senator Vitelli is not present. Senator Stewart.
No.
Actually,
Oh, there she is.
Senator Vitelli's present.
Senator Stewart is a no. Senator Vitelli.
No.
Senator Vitelli is a no. Representative Barry.
Yes.
Representative Barry is a yes. Representative Cuddy.
Yes.
Representative Cuddy is a yes. Representative Grahowski.
Yes.
Representative Grahowski is a yes. Representative Kessler.
Yes.
Representative Kessler is a yes. Representative Ziegler.
Yes.
Representative Ziegler is a yes. Representative Sachs.
Yes.
Representative Sachs is a yes. Representative Wadsworth.
No.
Representative Wadsworth is a no. Representative Grignon. Not present. Representative Foster.
No.
Representative Foster is a no. Representative Carlo.
No.
Representative Carlo is a no. And Senator Lawrence.
No. Oops, I have to come on. Hold on. No.
Senator Lawrence is a no. It is 6 in favor of the motion, 6 opposed, and oh, I'm sorry. I got Senator Vitelli here. I have 6 in favor and 6 opposed with 1 absent.
Okay. So it's unclear which is going to be the majority of the minority report. So just stay tuned and we'll figure out which. Those voting against the motion, somebody indicate what your report is going to be.
I believe, Mr. Chair, ought not to pass. Would that be sufficient to?
Yep,
Your
that's
sense?
sufficient.
Super.
And Jason, I'll be with that report ought not to pass. Can you just poll the other people who are voting against and see where they're going to be?
Certainly. So Senator Lawrence is ought not to pass. Senator Vitelli.
Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties here. Ought not to pass.
Okay. And Senator Stewart was ought not to pass. Representative Wadsworth
Ought not to pass.
and Representative Foster
Same.
and Representative Carlo.
Ought not to pass.
Okay. So that would be 6 in favor of the motion, ought to pass as amended, and 6 opposed to the motion as ought not to pass. 1 absent.
Great. Good. Thank you all very much for your patience. This seems to be going pretty well. My plan was to take a break at 2:45, but we just have 2 left, so we may be able to finish things up by pushing forward and see if we can get these 2 done without a break. Next one I'll lay before the committee is LD 1350, an act to expand Maine's clean energy economy. And I'll go to Senator Vitelli, whose bill it is, just update us on where we're at and for any motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We did discuss this bill previously, and basically it continues a successful process and project of moving forward with clean energy procurement. What we discussed changing, I believe, was or there was some discussion around the alternative payment cap. I think we left it last at 12. Although in the current draft that I have in front of me, it's still at 15. So, but the proposal was to consider 12. We also talked about under section B5 or C, actually, the weight given to procurement, removing under the 30% consideration provisions A and B, because they're no longer particularly applicable to this. And then we also have talked about or have seen a proposal to break the 30% into two sections, giving 15% to the first 4 provisions and then 15% weight to agricultural land that has been affected by PFAS. And so those, I think, are still issues to be agreed upon. I think those were the main additional amendments that we've discussed so far to this.
So are you going to make a motion?
Yes, I would move ought to pass with those amendments.
And is there a second? I will second that. Debate or discussion? Representative Foster?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think, as I stated yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, obviously we're all very concerned about this PFAS issue in farmland, but I also am concerned that there are various state departments as well as various legislative committees that have or will have some action coming forward, I think, on this. And I don't really have a good handle on what the best resolve is going to be for that issue. And from my point of view, for example, although I think financially we need to help these folks that are in this situation, as the senator mentioned yesterday, some of these lands are going to be out beyond where it might be economically feasible to include them as this bill would. And also, there may be some other options that come along that they might find more attractive than this option in that maintaining use of their land, although we don't know at this time, might become a possibility depending on what else is determined by, as I said, various departments that are looking into this issue. So I have some issues with supporting this for that reason. And also, I think the cap is a concern as well. Thank you.
Great. Representative Cuddy.
Thank you. I had a clarification question for Senator Vitelli around the amendment. Is it, you had offered an amendment yesterday that made some language changes, plus added some information around PFAS, but the amendment you are making today is to split that 30% of the 215s and add just part of it in. Is that correct?
Thank you for that, Representative Cuddy. It's been suggested to me and to others that we consider doing that. I'm open, but I'd like to hear what others think in that regard.
But that's the amendment that we are discussing under right now, right? Is to do that?
If I'm understanding you correctly, what's currently in place is the 30% that includes PFAS as one of the conditions. There's a proposal to consider breaking that into two components of 15%.
Thank you.
And Senator Vitelli, just for clarification, which one are you proposing?
I would go with either.
Okay, I think we're gonna need a clarification so we know when we vote what we're voting on. Representative
Yes,
Grohowski?
I agree. I wanted to hear from some others
Yep.
before.
So what I hear you saying is you'd be willing to accept a friendly amendment to get support.
Correct.
Okay.
You said that
Representative
well.
Grohowski?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That was largely my question, was I wasn't sure where we were starting the debate from, but it sounds like just the language that we'd seen the other day. And Lindsay, would it be possible to pop that back to the top of at least my inbox? Because I've got a mess when I search 1350 right now. I want to be sure we're all on the same page. Thank you. And Senator Vitale, did you include any changes in your motion that you just made right now related to the alternative compliance payment or not?
I mentioned that, yes, the previous time we discussed it, we had proposed an amendment to make it 12% instead of the 15 that I think is in the current document. So the current proposal is for a cap at 12.
And Lindsay, are you able to bring that up at Representative Grohowski's request?
Oh, certainly. I apologize. I forwarded it out by email again, but I will bring up my screen.
And just to be clear, I'm fine with looking at it on my own, my email. So if nobody else wants it screen shared, that's
Well,
okay.
I think it's helpful for us to screen share it because we're down to the end where things are getting complicated and intricate and people have very different opinions. So I want to make sure we understand what exactly the motion is.
So I think you want me to go down to the weight section, I believe. Is there anything else that the committee would like to see? I can scroll up and show you the alternative compliance payment language as well. Just let me know.
Yes, please, Lindsay, if you could, only because I'd like to confirm with Senator Vitale that I believe that's what she was talking about. And my understanding that it gives the PUC the ability to set it not greater than, and Senator Vitale was saying $12, not $15. So it could be as little as 5, it could be as much as 12 under this current proposal, correct? And perhaps that's for Senator Vitale for clarification.
Sorry, so what you're seeing in this existing amendment is 15, but when we talked about it yesterday, the proposal was 12, but you're correct, Representative Sachs, that this sets the ceiling for the alternative payment, but it could be something less than that, just could not be more than that.
Thank you, Senator.
Are you all set, Representative Grohowski? With your questions?
I think so. Yeah, I just wanted to understand what our where we were starting from with the discussion.
Okay.
And so I think getting
Yep.
this clarification is helpful. Thank you.
And to get a clarification or where we're at, I'll go to Representative Cuddy. It's my understanding, Representative Cuddy, that you want to see if Senator Vitale is willing to do a friendly amendment to her amendment that will not split, but essentially will consider PFAF as one of the conditions. Is that correct?
That is correct. I was seeking to understand which amendment had been made, and now I do understand. And I would say to that I would be opposed to making that split. This is the only place that there's any consideration given to what happens to people who do this work. And so it would be, I would be opposed to splitting it, but if we were to add PFAS as a consideration under the 30%, that I would support.
Okay, so Senator Vitale, are you willing to accept that as a friendly amendment to your motion?
Yes, I will accept that and would also propose as a friendly amendment as a possible middle ground that we set the alternative compliance payment at $10.
Okay, you're proposing to set that, and as the seconding person, I'll agree to that for the purposes of discussion so we can go through. I've got 3 or 4 people who want to speak. So I'll go to Representative Foster first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And one of my questions and concerns with the bill is the Class 2, that price cap, which, as I understand it, is now holding at $10. Is that, first of all, I'll have a question for the sponsor. Is that correct?
My proposal was to sort of meet in the middle between the 5 and the 15 or 12 and set that cap at 10. Are you asking whether that's actually where it is today?
No, I'm asking if that is your intent with the amendment, that it would be $10.
Correct.
So if I may, Mr. Chair, if you will humor me for a bit, one of my concerns is still that cap, and I know that I have spoken with others that are concerned about that. And I see in the participants in the audience, there's a Mr. Jeff Jones who is quite familiar with this issue. I was wondering if I might be able to ask him how he would see the $10 cap versus what was originally the $15 cap, if that's possible.
That's perfectly all right at this point. So if we could bring Jeffrey Jones over for a question.
I'm working on promoting him. There's 2 in the audience, so.
Well, will the real Jeffrey Jones raise his hand? There we go. Welcome, Mr. Jones. And if you could just identify yourself, tell us what town you're from, and if you're representing any organization, that would be great. And then you can go on to answer Representative Foster's question if you can.
Okay, Senator Lawrence, Representative Berry. Thank you. Thank you, Representative Foster. Or is that Senator Foster? Thought you got promoted the other day.
You did.
Yeah. So I represent Maine Power. I've been in this business since 1975. I used to be the power supply manager for Bangor Hydro. Now we're I run Maine Power, and we are the large standard offer supplier for, and have been for some years, for Central Maine Power and the Bangor Hydro District of Versant. And we brought this issue to the Maine Public Utilities Commission in October because we saw prices getting out of hand. I think that Steve Hudson spoke about this the other day from the IECG. So to answer your direct question, $10 is so much better than nothing. It is about 10 times what the historical price has been. I have to think of this as a windfall profits for the owners of these mostly old hydro plants. And the precedent that I see was back in 1980 when the oil windfall profits tax, and that was based on historical prices, not prevailing prices at the time. And I think the US Congress has just passed last week, or at least proposed a windfall profits tax. And that would also be based on historical prices, not prevailing prices at this time. So what we see is this is it's been a huge hit. It's a good chunk of these electric price run-ups of over 80% in pricing. And even though we're a standard offer provider, we know we're the price to beat. So, sorry.
That's okay. And is other questions for Mr. Jones? Other questions for Mr. Jones? Representative Berry, do you have a question?
I'm going to have to turn that thing off.
Okay. Representative Berry, do you have a question for Mr. Jones?
I do have a question for Mr. Jones. Yeah, Mr. Jones, could you remind us what the commission is currently setting? That maybe you just said it, and I apologize if so. But at what price is the current commission currently setting the Class 2 ACM? And why do you think it is that the price is higher? It's clear the price is higher in your view than it should be. So since the PUC has the authority to set the price now, as I understand it, why is that not happening?
Right.
Maybe I'm missing something in the law.
Yeah. There is no alternative compliance price or payment for Class 2 RECs. These are the old ones. These are the old hydro plants from the utilities and the paper mills. So it's a shrinking supply, because for the most part, anytime they make an investment to life extend these old hydro plants, they can qualify for Class 1 or Class 1A, which brings much more money in the market. There was no price cap, so it's unlimited. We really need a price cap. So yeah, $10 is better than nothing. So the PUC has no power to change the price or limit the price on Class 2, and that's why we need legislation.
Thank you for that reminder, and a follow-up, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Representative Berry.
Mr. Jones, we're debating over, the amount to set the ceiling at in this bill, and I understand. I mean, you brought this issue forward. I appreciate your sentiment here. I think we all share the goal of lower costs. So, would you feel comfortable kind of giving that flexibility to the PUC? Do you think that the ceiling matters greatly if they have flexibility underneath the cap, so they can, the cap could be at 10 and they could go lower if they wanted to? In other words, how low do we need to go, given that they'd have that flexibility?
Yeah, I don't think they would actually use that flexibility. It makes sense for them to have that power and to examine it, because they do a report. Last report that's out there is from 2019. But I think the flexibility in the pricing is more for them to be able to make sure that we have enough renewables in the Class 1 and 1A, those new renewables that are coming to market. So I believe that's what their flexibility. I don't think they'd use any flexibility in this case, even though theoretically they could say, oh, that price is too high, we're gonna limit the ACP. But my experience has been, I was a regulatory manager there for the utility for a number of years also, after we moved out of power supply in 2000. The PUC does mostly what you tell them to do. So this is one that if the price cap is at $10, then the market will be probably close to that $10, as long as we have this supply and demand imbalance. In other words, the supply is shrinking, the demand is going up because people want to buy these lower cost RECs to be able to have 100% renewable power, say. So that's what I think is happening. Steve Hudson suggested there may have been something else going on, and I believe the Maine Attorney General is looking into that to see if there was some illegal withholding that went along both in the Class 2 market and the Class 1A market, the new recs, but also the old recs. There's been some evidence of it, but I won't say evidence, I'm sorry. There's been rumors of this, and I believe there was evidence in some other jurisdictions. I believe in the PJM interconnection, for example, it was found that there were speculators coming in, grabbing up RECs, and then the people like Standard Offer that were required to buy those certificates were caught in the short squeeze to drive the price up. We've seen that in other markets. I think GameStop was one of those. So I don't know if there was anything fishy going on. Some think so. I'm inclined to think the best of people and think that it was just a supply and demand imbalance that's driving these up. But it does put a squeeze. And it was part of this price increase that we saw, this 80% price increase in Standard Offer, which again drives competitive prices.
Thank you very much.
Representative Kessler, do you have a question for Mr. Jones?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Jones. I was wondering your opinion on what potential harm could you envision if the price cap was set even lower than $10, like much closer to the historical price?
I don't think there's really any harm. I believe that there was testimony or a discussion, a work session the other day by Jeremy Payne of the Maine Renewable Energy Association. And, you know, he said, these are revenue sources for these plants. In my opinion, and others I've spoken to, I spoke with Rich Selfman the other day, these plants aren't going to shut down because they're not getting these windfall profits. They've been running for all this time since they were sold by the utilities and the paper mills at the rate, basically an average of $1 per rec. It's just that I think what happened is there was a drought, which reduced supply. There were conversions to Class 1 and 1A, which reduced supply. And the demand went up because you've got people like colleges and commercial establishments that want renewable power. So they buy it where they can, these credits. And that, so I don't see plants shutting down because of that. We're going to see plants shut down because they can't meet hydro plants, which are 90% of this market. We see them shut down because they can't make fish passage or other environmental restrictions. They don't shut down because of this. These plants are running for very little marginal cost, and this isn't going to matter that much to them. The real money is in conversion. They have to make an investment, then they get the Class 1 and 1A treatment. That's the way it's supposed to work. Because you
other questions for
higher
Mr.
price,
Jones?
you're going to
I'm
get.
sorry, Mr. Jones. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead. I was just asking if there are other questions for you. Senator Vitelli, did you have another question for Mr. Jones?
No, sorry, I have someone else I'd like to pose a question
Okay.
to. Thank you.
So let's finish up with Mr. Jones. Are there any questions for Mr. Jones while we have him here? I don't see any other questions, so thank you for coming over. Jason is going to beam you back across, Mr. Jones. And Senator Vitelli, who did you want to hear from?
Yes, I'd like to hear from Jeremy Payne, please.
Okay, you have a question for Jeremy Payne. So if you could bring Jeremy Payne across, Jason.
He's on his way.
I feel like I'm Captain Kirk beaming people over.
Senator Lawrence, I'm here. Happy to help in any way I can. Jeremy Payne with the Maine Renewable Energy Association.
Okay, so Senator Vitelli has a question for you. So Senator Vitelli, why don't you state your question?
Well, I thank you, Jeremy, for joining us this afternoon. I just want to make sure that the committee understands the full impact that this proposal will have with or without the cap change. So you might want to address that briefly, but just what is it that this bill is intending to achieve on behalf of Maine ratepayers and Maine's energy environment?
Sure. I mean, I think this bill is really, or the motion before you all really has three specific things within it. It allows you to create the cost containment. You've heard some specific concerns addressed around where the class 2 rec prices are headed. So if you don't pass this bill, you have no cost containment. The PUC, as you heard Mr. Jones just say, does not have the authority to set an alternative compliance payment rate. So if you don't pass this bill, there is no cost containment. 2, it builds off the success of the first 2 procurements. The less exposed we are to the volatility of natural gas prices, the more insulated we are from those price spikes. So the more Maine-made renewables, particularly those with inflation-proof fuels that we're putting online, the better off we all are. And lastly, I think what it really does is help help address what a lot of committees have been talking about around PFAS. I think there's a lot of interest in trying to help. I think Representative Foster just referenced, there's some conversations taking place elsewhere. Maybe we want to go slow. This is not some sort of tremendous price escalator or adder for PFAS. This is really instructing the PUC to consider projects that are on PFAS or degraded land. So there's not any sort of accelerated price exposure by allowing the PFAS or degraded lands to be one of the items of consideration, as Representative Cuddy mentioned, as part of that 30% economic content consideration.
Any other questions for Mr. Payne while we have him here? Seeing none, thank you very much. Why don't we beam him back across? And we'll go back to our debate or discussion on this bill. Representative Grochowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really appreciated that. I think we all received, I think it was a PowerPoint slide that showed us what has been happening with the price of Maine Class 2 REC since 2013. And up until the latest spike, which looks like it started in the latter half of 2021, it was only twice that it even went above $2. So these are resources, as we heard, 90% hydro. I think I'll call the PUC in a moment here to just sort of corroborate that and let us know what the other 10% is. But they're resources that, as Representative Cuddy pointed out a couple days ago, have been economically viable when they're receiving less than $2 for their RECs. So I don't find that we're protecting our ratepayers at all. We're just enriching certain multinational corporations if we set this cap literally any higher than $2, because $2 was pretty much a spike back in the day, if you will. If that graph had removed the last 1 year or less, that would have looked like a spike. So my point is, I really think that a lot of those resources are ones that are not going away. There are others there that I think may not even be able to sell their RECs into other places. So they're not going away, and they'll happily take $2 if we give them that. So that's where I'm leaning on this one part of this bill. But I would like to hear from the PUC with the other ACPs that they've been able to set, that they've had flexibility on. Have they set them less than the max, or did they set them at the max? And then the second question for the PUC I had was, could you remind us who all is selling Class 2 RECs in Maine right now? And if you're aware, are some of those even not eligible to sell RECs anywhere else as well? That might be that's like the bonus challenge question.
Are you giving out points?
I mean, I'm always keeping
Jason,
score. Come on.
Do we have anybody from the PUC here who can answer some questions?
I see Deirdre and Mitch Tannenbaum.
Okay, if you could bring them both over, and if they need, when they come over, if they need Nicole to repeat her questions, we can do that. Otherwise, we'll have them go directly into the answers, excuse me. Deirdre, did you want to lead off? Do you follow the questions that Representative Grahowski had?
I can lead off. I'm probably going to need Mitch to fill in. So I do
Okay.
think I think currently it's primarily hydro and some biomass. And I kind of will need, I don't know if Mitch is here, his camera's off, on the commission setting ACP for the other classes of RECs. I'm not sure about that.
Mitch, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, great. Did you hear Representative Grahowski's questions?
Yes, I think the question was, have we set the cap, have we set the ACP at the cap, or have we set it under the cap?
Right.
So currently for class 1 and 1A, the cap in statute is $50, and that's what we set it at in our last rulemaking. I would have to go back and check out prior rulemakings to see. I'm not sure. I think the $50 cap was a relatively recent addition to the statute. Before that, I'm not sure there was a cap. It was just that we would set an ACP based on market conditions. And I think that cap was lower than 50. But we recently did a rulemaking after that change and set the cap at 50. I know that doesn't really fully answer your question, Representative Grahowski, but best I can do at the moment.
Do you want any follow-up question, Representative Grahowski?
No, I think that is helpful because that was a good reminder. And I just looked really quickly in the statute that I think that was all stuff we set in 2019. Pretty sure. But that was a couple of years ago. The other question I had was, and you might not know this, that's okay. For that amount of class 2 RECs that are biomass, are those even eligible to sell class 2 or any, and I shouldn't say class 2, but RECs to any other place in the country?
It's unlikely. There, well, for the RPS purposes, it's New England, although somebody in California could buy a REC, a voluntary REC from a biomass plant. So, geez, I'm sorry, I lost the question.
Can you repeat it, Representative Grahowski, please?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Can those biomass RECs be sold anywhere else in the New England
Not
market?
generally, which is why their value for class 2 is so low, is that these biomass do not qualify in other states. I think Massachusetts and maybe some other states do allow biomass, but they have a very high standard of efficiency or something along those lines in order to qualify. So that's why generally biomass facilities, existing biomass facilities, do not qualify in other states, which is why, class 2 is really the only one. Well, I can't say for sure, but, basically the only RPS that allows just biomass without a lot of other conditions.
Any follow-up, Representative Grahowski?
Oh, that's very helpful for me. Thank you.
Okay. Representative Foster, you have a question for the PUC?
Yes, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. And Mr. Tannenbaum, I will ask you, you have a longer history with PUC, but do you know of anything that's currently in statute that would allow the PUC, when you're considering projects, accepting bids, that would look towards what is a relatively new factor, and that's the PFAS issue on lands? In other words, I believe there's statute that indicates some consideration for location dependent on use of land. Is that something that the PUC may already have the capability of considering without this legislation, even though it's not spelled out that way?
I'm trying to think that under the 30% language, it talks about economic benefits. You know, the whole point is to get renewable energy that's good for the environment. So I think the answer is no, that's not something that would come up if we were doing a procurement unless we were required to do it by statute.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the PUC? Seeing none, thank you very much. We'll go back to debate or discussion. Are we all set to vote? Representative Cuddy? I think you have your mic off, Representative Cuddy.
Man, it wouldn't be a full day without speaking on mute at least once. I'm trying to get my head around the purpose of giving the PUC the ability to set a higher ACP. I just don't see utility in it. The ACP as a structure creates a limit on how much sort of like extra profit a business can have. The businesses were operating, one would assume, profitably because they continue to operate prior to Class 2 RECs going up, and now they are much higher. So if we set a cap at 10, that's a lot more than it's ever been. I think setting a cap that can never rise, that never rises, is not good, because of course, you know, things become more expensive. And if it's always, you know, if you set it at $5 and it's always $5, and at some point in time, that's not going to be appropriate. So I would still really like to see us bring that number down.
Okay, Representative Grochowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I mean, one idea I have, which people may or may not have comfort with, is to tell the PUC that we'd like them to set a cap based on, you know, historic trends and their understanding of the market, and give them the flexibility to change that in rules if they want. You know, to be more responsive than we can be if we do it in statute. But I think that if they look at the data, they're going to come down to something that's a couple dollars, you know, at most, not 10 or 12. But, you know, I'd like to see, I do think a cap does seem like it could protect ratepayers. So I think having a cap, authorizing a cap is a good start, but I'm not sure this committee should do something that could actually get us stuck at a much higher cost than what we've been historically at, because everybody will fix prices to that amount possibly. So I'll just succinctly say, idea I have is to tell the PUC we want them to set an ACP for Class 2 RECs, period.
And Representative Grochowski, would that be without any cap, so they could set it at 30?
They could, and I think then we add the specification, you know, in order to protect ratepayers from, you know, severe fluctuations in the cost of Class 2 RECs. I think they'll know what to do with that, especially given our long debate here.
I think I'd be fine with that, Representative Grochowski, with the exception of I'd still like a cap in there, because I think we need some kind of clear indication that, you know, they're not to go to the moon. And I'm more comfortable that the PUC will go lower if we have a cap in there. Representative Kessler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to respond to Representative Grochowski's proposal, I think we well know at this point that these are facilities that don't necessarily need it. And I just feel like setting the cap at $2 is going to benefit ratepayers. It will do no harm to the generators. And we should just settle it here now.
Representative Cuddy?
I got to mute this time. Yeah, I like the combination of Representative Grahowski's idea and yours, Senator Lawrence. The idea that, you know, to be able to sleep at night, like I want to have some kind of cap, that it can't go higher than X, Y, or Z. But there's no reason, you know, the PUC often says we can do what you want us to do, but we need to know what you want us to do. And to give them that kind of guidance, you know, that the PUC shall set a cap for class 2 recs not to exceed $5, $10. I'm not going to put a number on it right now, but that the PUC shall take into account, and then, you know, what are the strictures that you put on that? Protection of ratepayers. But if you solely put on protection of ratepayers, then a rec of, you know, 0 would be the ultimate protection for ratepayers. But there has to be some allowance for people producing the renewable energy to make that money from it. So it seems like some combination of those two things, and moving in that direction, I would wholeheartedly support that.
Okay, just to kind of suggest the process here, I'm going to go through a few more questions, debate, or discussion. But it sounds like things are getting kind of complicated down to the nitty gritty. I've had a couple of requests for time to caucus. So what I'm going to suggest is we have a few more debate or discussion, then we take our afternoon break, but give people enough time to caucus if they want, and come back and see if we have any greater clarity on kind of where the majorities on the committee want to go. So any other debate or discussion at this point? Representative Grahowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just thought that before we go into caucus, I would take a second to just tell folks where I'm headed with the report that I would like to be on. And then, you know, people can take that into caucus with them if that's all right.
That's good.
Great. So in terms of just this one thing with this one small piece here, I'm interested in a $2 cap with a CPI adjustment for the ACP for class 2 recs. But more broadly, it's been my concern that we are continuing to do what is, you know, a tried and true method for requiring ratepayers to pay the cost of this renewable generation, and that is how it is done with the structure that we have. You know, these are fixed upfront costs putting these renewables on the grid, and so we have to make sure that the developers and investors have access to capital. So we do long-term contracts. Long story short, I don't think we're doing them as economically efficiently as we could be, and so in my amendment, I am going to require that the Efficiency Main Trust put bids into any competitive PUC procurement that is authorized through this legislation, totaling at least 25% of the megawatts that are sought in that procurement. And the Efficiency Main Trust, as you might know, has the ability to use revenue bonding, and they can work with the private sector to develop the projects or to finance the projects the private sector develops. And then I'm going to require that the PUC, you know, consider those bids that are put forward by the Efficiency Main Trust. And if they are indeed cheaper, as multiple different analyses that I've seen have indicated they will be, then they will win that bid, and we will have the concept proven for us that indeed low cost revenue bonding is the best interest of ratepayers. And it will, my amendment will also allow the Efficiency Main Trust to finance and own generation and storage as approved by the Public Utilities Commission in cases where it is found to be providing savings to ratepayers. So that's what I'm looking to do in my amendment. And finally, I would add, Representative Cuddy, if we can think about something to better consider the jobs component of this, I would be really amenable to that, because I'm not myself convinced that something like employment resulting from the resource really means a whole lot about, well, what kind of employment are we talking about there? So I'd be happy to consider that in the report that I'll be looking to be on. Thank you.
Great. Other debate or discussion at this point? So I will say, Representative Grahowski, probably after the break, I will want to hear from Michael Stoddard and Efficiency Maine Trust about what they think about your proposal. I can just tell you where I'm at. I mean, I think we're going to lose a great opportunity if we do not get a new purchase of renewables through this legislature. So I'm anxious to get people to a consensus so we can get something done. Any other debate or discussion at this point before we go to caucus? Okay, everybody have plenty of caffeine on our break. I see Representative Foster perk up at the reference to caffeine. So please have plenty of caffeine. We've got a lot to go. This is obviously a very complicated bill, and I appreciate the hard work everybody's put into it. So let's take a break till 3:15. And then I'd encourage, if people are going to have caucuses, they have their caucuses during that time. We come back ready to continue to move forward on this bill. Any questions before we go? Okay, mute yourself and turn off your video, and see you at 3:15, highly caffeinated. Great, Nathan. We're all done caucusing. So we're
Yep,
ready.
as
to go
are we.
back.
Yeah, we are too.
Yep, good. We're ready to go back. So I'll wait for 7 to get here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Great. So we're back with the Energy Utilities and Technology Committee. And we're back from our break. And the pending motion on the floor is the motion of Senator Vitelli regarding LD 1340. Did I get that number right? Yes, 1350. Ought to pass as amended. Is there any more debate or discussion? Representative Barry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just to clarify the motion before us, where would the ACP stand and where would that money be directed?
Senator Vitelli.
So if I may, thank you, Mr. Chair and Representative Berry for that clarifying question. I'm going to make sure that I would like my motion to reflect the ACP is set at $10 and that some language be inserted that gives the PUC some flexibility to review that cap, and that any funds collected through the ACP are directed to the Efficiency Main Trust in a similar fashion to the other ACPs that are collected.
Okay, any other debate or discussion? Are we ready for the vote? Representative Sachs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to clarify before we left for break. There was some discussion about Efficiency Main Trust, and I wondered if Mr. Stoddard were here to talk about Representative Grochowski's proposal, just to have that information.
Is Michael Stoddard still in the waiting room, Jason?
Yes, he is.
Okay, could have him come over so Representative Sachs could ask his question.
Okay, he should be there.
Are you there,
Good
Michael?
afternoon.
Good afternoon. We could just identify yourself, where you're from, and Representative Sachs has a question. You may have already heard it.
My name is Michael Stoddard. I am the Executive Director of the Efficiency Main Trust. And I could use a little clarification on the question, although I did hear it, but maybe something
Stoddard.
specific.
Nice to see you again this afternoon after
Likewise.
yesterday. And so Representative Grochowski, which of course, Representative Grochowski, feel free to jump in. I did have extra caffeine, Mr. Chair, but want to make sure that I'm doing this correctly during the break. You had suggested, Representative Grochowski, that Efficiency Main do a portion of a bidding as in an attempt to do low cost capital towards this initiative. And so I wanted to clarify that with you, Representative Grochowski, and then ask Mr. Stoddard if that is something that they felt was feasible.
Yes, that's correct. In the PUC procurement, Efficiency Main Trust would use its existing capabilities and, proper drafting of this bill to ensure they have the full suite of capabilities to prepare bids for the PUC procurement process in partnership with the people who already developed these projects. But the Efficiency Main Trust would be the financier of those projects through their access to low-cost capital.
You follow that, Michael?
Yes, yes, thank you. So just so I'm clear, this isn't some language that I should be seeing in the bill amendment now, right? This is a conceptual.
Correct.
Addition.
Representative Grochowski is proposing an additional amendment to what Senator Vitelli has proposed.
Thank you.
And this is similar to the Maine Generation Authority, but it's giving the authority to Efficiency Main Trust to essentially go out and finance renewable development. Is that correct, Representative Grochowski?
Correct. No new agency needed.
Thank you. So Representative Sachs, I mean, that's a fairly open-ended question. And so I'm happy to answer any questions that I can, and to comment generally, because I did have a chance to see some of the suggested the Representative Krahowski's suggested amendment to 1634, the Generation Authority Bill. So I have had a chance to look at what that concept would be. And, is it feasible, I think was your question. I think it is feasible. I think it would be a lot of work, and I think it would be hard work. And I just want people to go into it with open eyes. It's not work that we currently do. So we're pretty proud of the work that we have been doing, and we're grateful that your committee and the rest of the legislature has deemed that performance good enough to entrust us with some added responsibilities in the last couple of years. We've expanded some of our programs to move into demand management and demand response programs, which we're starting to roll out. Obviously, we've added electric vehicle and electric vehicle charger infrastructure. That's relatively new in the last 3 years. Last year, Senator Vitelli's bill asked us to do more work with batteries, and we're making good progress on rolling that out. And then last year, of course, as you all know, we discussed yesterday, we were asked to expand the offerings we have for financing. So I feel like we're making good, steady progress in all of those areas. But I think it's also important to note that all of that is what we call on the customer's side of the meter, or behind the meter. It's all on the demand side of the equation. And what this is talking about, as I understand it, is on the supply side of the equation. It's on the grid side of the meter. So that would be new for us. And also developing and owning projects would be new for us. We own some things. We own rights to things, especially as a security interest, for example. And I think we may be doing more of that in the near future. But this is I don't know how big the scale is that's being contemplated by Representative Grahowski's amendment, but megawatts, tens of megawatts, hundreds of megawatts is a significant scale to own. So I just want to go into it with eyes open, that it's different than what we've done in the past. It's not such a small incremental change that it wouldn't require, I think, some really thoughtful planning and maybe a fairly significant use of third-party expertise. We have expertise, and we have a lot of good connections with people who are experts on the demand side of the equation. We know that equipment, we know the costs and the prices, we know the legal issues, and we would be starting from scratch, in a sense, on some of these issues around renewable energy generation. So do I think we could learn them? Do I think we could find experts who could help us provide those services? I do. I think it would take some time and a fair amount of resources. And so that's my starting response anyway. I have not had language. I've not seen language, so I'm guessing here a little bit about what we're talking about, but I hope that's a helpful first step.
Representative Sachs, any follow-up?
Well, if I could just clarify with Representative Grahowski, and I appreciate your comments, Mr. Stoddard, but my understanding from what I heard briefly before the break was that this is not owning, but just simply financing. Representative Grahowski, can you clarify that? Or is it, again, this sense of which side of the meter and recognizing that as a dip in a different direction?
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Representative Grahowski.
It's important that the Efficiency Main Trust also own this property on behalf of the ratepayers, because that is what gives it its tax exempt status, which is how we accrue even greater savings than just the revenue bonding aspect.
Thank you. Any follow-up, Representative Sachs?
No, thanks for the clarification. Appreciate it.
Michael, I do want to ask a question. I mean, this kind of seems like a pretty huge undertaking from my perspective. And I know we've had several conversations with you kind of touching on things like this, certainly in the transmission and distribution area in the past. I guess my question is several parts. First of all, have you discussed this with your board? Is your board ready to take this on? Have you discussed it with the staff? Is the staff ready to take this on? Would you need additional funding or additional staffing to take this on? And will it impact the other job you're doing?
Thanks for the question, Senator Lawrence. Number one, I have not discussed this with our board, other than I know Dan Burgess, Director Burgess is listening into some of these discussions, and he is on our board, so he would be aware of it. But other than that, we have not had a discussion. I have discussed it with our staff, and you know, it's a little bit hard for them to respond absent more detail. A lot of the devil is in the details, as people like to say, and so it matters to us to understand what it would really take to implement what would be asked of us. But I think generally we had a chance to look through it, and it did elicit some of those comments that I just shared with you. Yes, we would absolutely need more staff. I don't want to be cavalier about the magnitude of the change that this would bring into our organization, as I think I was hinting at with my introductory comments. This is not something we have significant experience in, and we're a pretty lean operation, as folks may or may not know. We've grown recently. We're up to 24 or 25 staff, but that's still it. And it's a pretty modest size staff for the size of our operation. We do use outsourced third parties to do a significant amount of work, but the work that those outside parties do, almost all of it is in relation to customers who buy equipment and to vendors who sell them that equipment for use behind the meter. So we would need a new stable of consultants to help us do a significant amount of this work. I mean, developing a renewable energy project means finding good land, procuring rights to the land, figuring out how to do interconnection, all the problems you guys hear about from other stakeholders when you're listening to bills about renewable energy. And we don't have that in-house today, so we would have to build that out through contractual relations probably initially, and then over time, I guess we could add full-time staff as we learned how to do things. So that takes time and it takes resources. So I can't give you a specific number because I don't quite know the magnitude of what we're talking about, but I hope I'm trying to paint an accurate picture so everyone has a sense of what we would be talking about.
The last part of my question, does it concern you or your staff if you were given this responsibility about it impacting, negatively your ability to do your current job?
Well, to be clear, Senator, I worry about everything. So this is just one more thing. I used to have a full head of hair when I started this thing, and now look at me. So yeah, going into the unknown and owning things and being responsible for that is, I think it would be a lift for us, and we have, as I just rattled off a moment ago, we have been assigned by you some new expanded responsibilities, which we are thrilled to be doing, and we are optimistic we're gonna crush it. So we're looking forward to that. This expansion of beneficial electrification is going to be a massive undertaking and is really important for the economy of our state and for obviously our environment. Similarly, we think there's a ton of work to do with electric vehicles, and some of this demand management that I referenced, so that we don't have to build out the grid any bigger than it absolutely needs to be, so that we can turn all this equipment on and off in real time and ways to shave peak demand and optimize the efficiency of our grid. That's all going to be good hard work, and that's going to keep us really busy. I do think I think we could grow to meet new challenges, but I just want to be clear-eyed about it. I don't think they would be insignificant, and I think it would initially it would take away a little bit of our current focus on those things I just listed.
Thank you. Other questions for Michael Stoddard while we have him here? Seeing none, thank you very much, Michael.
Thanks, everybody.
So back to debate or discussion on Senator Vitelli's motion. Senator Vitelli?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to table this until later.
There's been a motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Representative Ziegler. All those in favor of tabling? 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's an idiot.
All those opposed? 1, 2. Keep your hands up. 3, 4, 5, 6. So the motion fails. So the pending question is Senator Vitelli's motion ought to pass as amended. Are we ready for the question? Is there any more debate or discussion? Representative Wadsworth?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. During our caucus, Republicans, we're not interested in trying to procure more solar. We're seeing solar development in every town in Maine, and tons of Wall Street money flooding into the state, looking to set up solar, cut down the woods. But we are looking to cap these REC prices and what they're doing to the main ratepayer. So that will be our report when we get there. So just wanted to let the committee know that.
Okay. Any other debate or discussion? Representative Sachs?
If I could, Representative Wadsworth, is there a recommendation on your report regarding the amount of the cap? Currently, it's at $10 in the current motion.
We were going to give the direction to the PUC to, have them set the cap so that it would save the main ratepayer money and then also provide for a reasonable return for the REC investor. That was the direction we wanted to give them.
Any other debate or discussion? So so you'll know where I am. I will be going with Senator Vitelli's amendment. I'm concerned. It's not like I don't like the idea of the main generation authority, but I'm concerned with us overwhelming Maine EMT efficiency Maine trust by moving it in. I know Michael wants to be very, very supportive of whatever we want to do. But my concern is that we're not ready to do that yet. And his organization would not be ready to take on a task like that. Other debate or discussion? Okay, Jason, do you want to call the roll? It's ought to pass as amended.
Okay, Senator Lawrence.
Yes.
Senator Lawrence is a yes. Senator Vitelli.
Yes.
Senator Vitelli is a yes. Senator Stewart.
No.
Senator Stewart is a no. Representative Barry.
No.
Representative Barry is a no. Representative Cuddy is not present. Representative Grahowski.
No.
Representative Grahowski is a no. Representative Kessler.
No.
Representative Kessler is a no. Representative Ziegler.
Yes.
Representative Ziegler is a yes. Representative Sachs.
Yes.
Representative Sachs is a yes. Representative Wadsworth.
No.
Representative Wadsworth is a no. Representative Grignon, not present. Representative Foster.
No.
Representative Foster is a no. Representative Carlo. Not present. As 4 in favor of the motion, 6 opposed, and 3 absent.
Okay, so I'm going to go through, and for the sake, I think I know where people are at. I'm going to call one the Wadsworth report and one the Grohowski report. And if we could go through the people who voted no, and if they could indicate which report they would want to be on, that would be great. Or if they want to be ought not to pass entirely, just indicate that. So if you could go through the people who voted no, Jason, and ask.
Sure thing. Senator Stewart.
Wadsworth report, please.
And that's an ought to pass as amended then?
Correct.
Okay.
That sounds like a good name for a movie or something.
Okay. Representative Barry.
The Growski report, please.
Okay. Representative Growski.
I assume you're on your
You're
own.
going to
report.
be on your own report there. Representative Kessler.
Same, the Grohowski report.
Okay. And Representative Wadsworth will be on his own report. And Representative Foster.
Wadsworth report.
Okay. So I have 4 in favor of the motion ought to pass as amended. I have 3 on the Wadsworth report and 3 on the Grohowski report.
Okay. So it sounds like we're going to come out with 3 different reports. None of them is going to get the 7 votes. That's just my guess, based upon what I see. So we'll take it out that way, and we'll allow the people the 2 days to vote and get it done. And I assume, Lindsay, we're probably going to have a lot of language review on this, correct?
Yes, and I was hoping, could I just walk through what I understand the various reports to be?
That would be wonderful. So why don't we start off with Senator Vitelli?
Okay, so what I have for Senator Vitelli, this would be starting with, this is in section 3210G1C, looking at the category of weight at 30%. Subparagraphs, this would be A and B would be deleted. Is that correct? Okay, I see Senator Vitelli nodding.
If you could just announce it on camera, Senator Vitelli, because it is going out over audio.
Thank you. I just unmuted myself. Yes, that is correct, Lindsay.
Okay, thank you. And then on the first page of the amendment, we're looking at the alternative compliance payment. You wanted to set that at $10. You had mentioned you wanted the PUC to review that. Did you want special language for that, or just to set the maximum at $10?
Set the maximum at $10 and some language to give the PUC flexibility to review.
Okay. And then with respect to those alternative compliance payments, language to basically direct that they will go to Efficiency Main Trust as other ACPs already do.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. So that is the Vitelli report. The Grohowski report. So this would be directing the PUC to set the alternative compliance payment for Class 2 RECs by rule, considering historic prices. I feel like I'm missing a component of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take what the Wadsworth report had in it, since I think that came from what I presented anyhow.
So that would be balancing interests of the consumer with interests of the investor.
Not to exceed $5.
Not.
Or $2, Chris, Seth? Chris made a face.
I was fine.
Okay, so that Grohowski report sets the alternative compliance payment cap at $5. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And then the Grohowski report also includes language regarding the role of Efficiency Main Trust. Let me find where I put that. Sorry, I have like 5,000 papers on my desk. Okay. So this would, the Grohowski report would require Efficiency Main Trust to put bids into the PUC procurement process for 25% of procured megawatts. It would be, the PUC would be required to consider bids coming out of Efficiency Main Trust. Explicit language to allow Efficiency Main Trust to own and finance generation if approved by the PUC. I believe that's it. There was some discussion of Representative Cuddy and possible ideas about employment, but it sounds like I don't know that that was part of this. It is not. Okay. Did I get that right on the other elements?
Yep, that's correct.
Excellent. And lastly is the Wadsworth report. And so that would be directing the PUC to establish the alternative compliance payment amount applicable to Class 2 RECs by balancing consumer interests with those of investors without any cap set in statute. Is that correct?
Well, we're looking to cap all the classes of RECs to save main ratepayer money and provide a reasonable return to the REC investor.
And did you want an amount set in statute, or would this all be
That could be done in a proceeding or something, I would assume.
by rule? Okay. Reasonable by rule. All right, I think I've got it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Lindsay. And first of all, thank you to everybody on the committee. You've done a really good job. I realize we're getting down to the end where things are very not as unanimous as we used to be, and people are kind of going different ways. And these are because the very tough decisions are always held down at the very end. So I just want to recognize that Lindsay and Jason are going to have a lot of work at this point. I know Lindsay's been putting in some 11, 12, 13-hour days. So I just ask you to be kind with them and going over this stuff. She's going to have a lot of drafting to do, a lot of different things. So just keep that in mind. We do have one bill left to do, but I just want to take this time because we had several three-way or four-way divided reports that we need to go over. And so it's going to be a lot of burden on, not burden, but a lot of work for Lindsay to do. Representative Kessler.
I would like to request a quick administrative thing, a bit of a redo. I had on my vote for, I think it was LD 1955, and confirming my vote, I had a little typo in my email, which has me as the sole person voting ought not to pass, and I was wondering if I could make a motion to reconsider my vote.
So has the time limit passed for voting, Chris?
On that particular bill?
Yes.
I would have to ask Jason.
Well, my suggestion is if you could take it up quickly with your presiding officer, because that's who actually approves the votes, and see if you can maybe say you did it technically rather than us go through a whole reconsideration. If you, John, just contact the speaker's office and see if you can change it. At this point, that may be an easier way to do it rather than take us through a whole reconsideration. Seth, did you have a different idea?
Thank you. I actually just had a similar conversation about another bill, and it's my understanding that the Speaker's office generally prefers that we reconsider and just revote if we're going to do that.
Okay, if that's the case, then we can have a motion to reconsider. So, Representative, I'll lay that bill before the committee, and can you refresh us, Lindsay, on what the title of that bill is?
Sorry, this is LD 1955, an act to facilitate net energy billing.
And when did we vote on that?
Oof, that was, Jason, do you have that handy? This was voted on March 15th.
That's correct.
So it was more than 2 days ago, so we would be beyond the 48 hours. So is the bill still in our possession? Can we do a motion to reconsider?
This has not been reported out.
Okay, so it's still in our possession. So Representative Kessler has made a motion to reconsider. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Representative Grochowski. Show of hand. Did you want to say something, Seth? Okay, A show of hands, all those in favor of the motion to reconsider?
Mr. Chair, is it somebody who's on the majority side is allowed to make the motion to reconsider?
Oh, that's a good point. Thank you, Representative Sachs. So can you refresh my
If so,
memory?
I would like to be, I certainly move, but I don't believe Representative Kessler can because that's the whole point of reconsidering.
Thanks for catching that. So since he was a report of one, I don't think he was in the majority.
Just say, I know I'm tired, but just doing the math. So
Thank
I
you
would
very
like to
much.
move.
So you move to reconsider, Representative Sachs, and you know you're on the majority, right? Is there a second to that?
I'll second that again.
Representative Grohowski, and you were on the majority, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now we can have a show of hands. All those in favor of reconsideration? I count 9 in favor. Senator Stewart, how did you want to be recorded? Opposed or in favor?
In favor. Sorry, I just put my hand down too early.
That's okay. 10 in favor. So the motion prevails. So the pending question is it ought to pass as amended. Is that correct?
Ought not to pass.
Ought not to pass is the pending motion. So refresh my memory. Whose motion was that?
I believe it was the sponsor, Senator Vitelli.
Oh, okay. Yep. Ought not to pass. Okay. So we can call the roll.
Mr. Chair, I see a hand up from Representative Foster.
Thank you. Representative Foster.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering if, to make things simple, if Lindsay could confirm that Representative Kessler was the only one for or opposed to the motion. Is that correct?
That is correct. The majority report was ought not to pass. The minority report was one person, and that's Representative Kessler of ought to pass.
Thank you. Now I remember.
There's always one in every crowd. Okay, Jason, why don't you call the roll?
I'm sorry, I might have missed who that was seconded by.
It was seconded by Representative Grohowski.
I second the motion to reconsider, but I'm happy to second the ought not. to
Oh, I'm
pass
sorry.
as
Are
well.
you talking about the ought not to pass report?
Yes.
Okay, do you recall? I do not recall who was that seconded by.
I think it might have been you, Senator Lawrence.
If you need one, I'm happy to give you one.
Well, when we reconsider, I think we go back to the pending motion. So we don't have to have that motion made again. We're still voting on the ought not to pass, but I think Jason needs to know for his paperwork who had seconded that original motion.
I can look back. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay, Jason. I know how much we're making your life complicated at this point.
It's no problem.
Okay.
So we have an ought not to pass. Senator Lawrence?
Yes.
Senator Lawrence is a yes. Senator Vitelli?
Yes.
Senator Vitelli is a yes. Senator Stewart?
Yes.
Senator Stewart is a yes. Representative Barry?
Yes.
Representative Barry is a yes. Representative Cuddy? Not present. Representative Grohowski?
Yes.
Representative Grohowski is a yes. Representative Kessler?
Yes.
Representative Kessler is a yes. Representative Ziegler?
Yes.
Representative Ziegler is a yes. Representative Sachs?
Yeah.
Representative Sachs is a yes. Representative Wadsworth?
Yes.
Representative Wadsworth is a yes. Representative Grignon? Not present. Representative Foster?
Yes.
Representative Foster is a yes. And Representative Carlo is not present. So that is 10 in favor of the motion ought not to pass and 3 absent.
Great. So the motion ought not to pass prevails. Great. Thank you. And Representative Kessler, you get to do that once. After this, we're going to require a tribute for you to do that for you again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I didn't, well, I knew that a simple typo could cause so much trouble. Sorry.
It's that N. That N. You have to press that N. Okay, we're on to our last bill. And very good job, people. We're on to LD 2015. An act to update the comprehensive state energy plan to achieve the state energy vision. And I believe this is Representative Barry, so I'll go to him first and see if he's prepared to make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is technically a committee bill, but I do take ownership of some of the language here, although what I emailed to you earlier today was from the governor's energy office and had some pretty substantial edits. So in your inbox, you'll find that I sent it at 1:02 p.m. and
You want us to have Lindsay bring it up so we could all look at it?
Yeah, I think that would be helpful. And Lindsay, do you have it? If not, I just sent it just in case.
This is the one you sent at 1 o'clock around then, is that correct?
Yeah, 1:02.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Bear with me one moment and I will share my screen. Are you able to see?
Yes, and just as a preliminary, could you remind us, I think we were hoping when we first heard this bill to also get an update, Lindsay, on the current state energy plan. And I've forgotten at this point whether we did that or not.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. So you had reached out to the GO to see if there was an update on the plan, and did you get a response?
I had reached out to them. I mean, they were in attendance
Right.
at the public hearing, so they did provide some information there. We didn't end up scheduling a formal presentation.
Got it. Okay. So maybe what we could do is bring in either Director Burgess or Ms. Winnie just to to kind of go over their recommendations. I think that the language that you have in front of you now is their edits to the bill that was presented the other day and in public hearing. So Jason, could you bring in Director Burgess and Melissa Winnie?
Yeah, why don't we bring over Director Burgess, Jason, and Seth can address his question to them.
Great. I just want to make sure that they can kind of help to go over this. The idea, the genesis of this language, as you all know, is that we're hoping to provide a more enduring energy vision and make the plan something that feels valuable enough to be complied with. That section of statute, that there is a regular plan that's reported back, that we do have an energy plan, and the language here, Lindsay, why don't you scroll down to the first? Oh, actually, at the very top, I just want to flag that the establishment of the office, the director, the funding, that's all kind of existing law, existing statute. And then go down to the director position and his or her duties. And then, Lindsay, the language that's being stricken here is because in blue, that is from the original bill, correct? We had taken out that language around wind energy development goals and oil dependence reduction targets. This is the language that previously existed in statute. Am I correct?
Yes, it looks like this was pulled from the statute and modified. It doesn't appear that the edits that we'll be seeing are based on the bill as printed. So it's a little hard for me to know what's changed
Right.
and what's not. So
I think, and maybe Melissa, can you help us? I think you may have just included this language so it could be a little clearer how the original bill really worked. The blue is sort of what was repealed in the original bill. Am I wrong? Or Dan?
Yeah, thanks, Chair Barry. Dan Burgess from the Energy Office. This is from what exists in statute. I think the current bill, I think there may have been some drafts going through the night. And so the current bill does contain a little bit about consultation with Efficiency Main Trust. But we just felt cleaner to begin the section anew and just point to a lot of the enumerated goals here and targets are already goals and targets in statute, and felt like we could just say energy goals and requirements. But that's below.
And C, I thought, Lindsay, that the way that the bill was printed, it just said that C is repealed, but it didn't actually give us the language for C. So I kind of like this draft because it shows you what's being repealed. Am I wrong about the original bill repealing C?
the original bill doesn't repeal C, it amends it.
Okay. All right. So bit of a strike and replace, in other words. But the goal in the original bill was to repeal the specific language about these wind energy developments, that sort of thing. So Director Burgess, do you want to say anything else on this section, or if not, we can go on to the next piece?
I think we can go on to the next. I think the repealing parts of it makes sense because it says, starting in 2009 and every year thereafter. And there's obviously times previously when energy plans weren't done. And so the sequencing is kind of off. I do want to say, I mentioned it yesterday, didn't come through. We did send you all an updated overview document as was requested for this conversation last fall, which I think meets all the requirements of of what's being struck above. So that would have made it to your inbox yesterday. But also appreciate that this is more forward looking. So
that's great. Okay, thank you for that clarification. So here, this is the new C, and it's the original bill would have been a little more specific with this language, but here the Governor's Energy Office has recommended that we kind of pare it back and make it a little more general. Is that fair to say, Director Burgess? Anything else you want to say on this portion in front of us?
Well, the date has changed to be an off year from the Climate Council, which the report would be that one is in 2024. This is a little bit broader, and it doesn't specify how many pathways and scenarios would need to be done, but just merely points to statute, kind of what we've been looking at the original. If you're doing multiple pathways for several scenarios with economic analysis, it will get pretty expensive. And so we thought better to provide kind of the broader and then move forward with that. That was our sense.
Great. We can come back to any of this if members of the committee, want to discuss it, but just let's move down through to the next page, Lindsay, in the interest of time, and giving an overview. There were 8 criteria. I think resilient and secure were 2 different ones. I do not recall for sure the one that may have come out was job creation. Director Burgess, is that right?
No,
regional was added.
Yeah, we had a regional. If you could scroll back up, that'd be helpful, Lindsay. So what we attempted to do is take, affordability, and we did modify some of the language here to be more, I think, directional as opposed to some of the things that were brought up. So those are still in there, affordability and economically beneficial.
Thank you. Climate and renewable was maybe those were merged, I'm not sure, but the regional was added, and you put resilient and secure together. I'm fine with that.
There's some initial language had something about emergency and protecting from hostile acts, and felt like that could be broadened a little bit to fit those.
Yes, under secure. Okay, and then updated every 2 years in odd numbered years. Up at the top, you mentioned that this plan, Director Burgess, would need potentially additional funding. And I just had a question about that, which it may come up with the committee. So just in anticipation, your office is required to do a plan now. So why would this require additional funding, since we're just changing what's in the plan?
Thanks for the question. I think, if you look at the way the office was structured, particularly early on, there's been 2 reports provided since 2009. And I think some of that is a reflection of the expectations of what was in the statute, and then the staffing and funding available to actually do that. And I think we are funded, or have been primarily funded, by the state energy program, which is run by the federal government. And that may be a continued source of funding, but should that ever not be enough to cover what the scope of this would look like, I think it's important to at least have the option for some limited funding to be provided, potentially through the the PUC penalty funds or something like that might be useful, just to make sure that in future years there's actually something available if needed.
Okay. And then going down, we'll come back to the committee discussion, but consistency of reporting, that was, I think that's pretty similar to the language that was in there originally.
Yes, same one. Consistency is the same. Yep.
Okay, great. And then you've got some highlights. Can you speak to those? Even numbered March 15th.
I think the even number reflects the change from above. Getting the plan in a 2023, and then in the even number 24. I might need help on that. And then March 15th is just when our annual report is currently due. Kind of the catalog of the activities of the energy office is due to committee on January 15th, and would appreciate at least a month or two to get that in. We kind of take stock after the December end of the year, and a 2-week turnaround can be pretty tight. So
great. And then Lindsay, is there more? Okay. And I think I had asked if this piece should be removed, and you're gonna have to help me here, Director Bird. Oh, I can't see what. Yeah. Right. Melissa's comment that this refers to another section that's been repealed, so we would remove this language as well.
Yeah, just clean up, I think. Yep.
And I believe this also is no longer necessary. Have you added deployment here? It's not underlined, so I just want to be clear.
Yeah. There's currently in our statute the ability to run a R&D program, and I don't think that our office has done that with funding or federal funding that could be available. We felt like if we were going to be cleaning this up, we should clarify that there could be opportunities to support deployment, not just R&D activities, and not critical, but just a cleanup measure.
Great. And what else?
There's one more at the very end.
Great. Can you speak to this?
Yeah, this is just a actually took this, I think, from GOPIF's statute, just clarifying that we have the ability to hire consultants and contract for services, and can enter into agreements with the federal government, and just felt like it was boilerplate that if doing cleanup could add to this.
Okay. So thank you, Director Burgess. Given that the previous section of statute regarding the plan was quite clearly outdated, I think this is a major step forward. Thank you, Lindsay. I don't believe that the committee has, time or appetite probably to wordsmith this a great deal. I think you've done a good job of improving on the language that we heard at the hearing. And I think it helps that your office is comfortable with this language. So I am prepared to make a motion to pass the bill as amended with the changes that are reflected in what we just saw from the governor's energy office.
Thank you very much, Representative Barry. There's a motion ought to pass as amended. Is there a second?
Second by Representative Kessler.
Okay, thank you. Seconded by Representative Kessler. Debate or discussion? And you're sure about that second, right, Representative?
No typos.
No typos. Any debate or discussion? Okay, and questions for Mr. Burgess? Okay, you can beam Mr. Burgess across. Just to toss in my debate or discussion, I haven't decided how I'm going to vote on this. I know this is done at the very end. I'm not sure that it gets us very far. I know this is something we had really wanted to do and do well and get some clear direction on this. I'm just concerned that if we pass this, we think we've done it, and we don't. I think we're going to have to come back and revisit this and give some more clear direction to the governor's energy office on what exactly we're looking for that will help us in our legislative goals. Any other debate or discussion? Representative Barry?
Yeah, thank you, Senator Lawrence. And I will be the first to say, having worked on it, that it's not perfect, but I think it's a heck of a lot better than what's in statute right now. And I think the way that we move forward in the legislative process is iterative. And if future legislatures find ways to improve on this language, that's great. But this will be the last opportunity for this legislature to do that. And I, for one, would like to take this, I think, considerable step forward in how we frame our state energy vision and plan. Thank you.
Great. Other debate or discussion? Representative Wadsworth?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would agree that the statute is outdated and does need to be updated. And I just never found the time to get with Rep. Barry to get this right. So I do appreciate the time and effort that he has put into it. I'm actually undecided on how I'm going to vote for it right now, just because I do think it's at the end. I think it could be better, but I would agree that there's a lot of old statute that needs to be cleaned up. So,
Representative Grochowski?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate the sentiments that that Rep. Wadsworth and also you presented. And I know that we were really committed to getting everything done today, but we did get an extra vote in thanks to Representative Kessler's typo. I just wonder maybe if we could get a version that was not commented in other things and look at it like, yes, we have a big bill tomorrow, and then I think two that are maybe less big. I would be willing to table this. I know that we really are against a deadline, but we might be able to find some consensus on it if we just let it percolate a wee bit.
Any other debate or discussion? And just to react to that, Representative Grochowski, I mean, I'm not sure a day will make a difference. My hope is that our committee would really get around this issue, because I think if we can get very clear specification to the energy office of what we need, it's going to help us a lot in the legislative process. And my concern, just knowing the legislative process, if we make this change where it's unlikely that we're going to come back and revisit it. And I think we need to. And I'm actually mulling around in my mind if I'm back here in a year, bringing in a piece of legislation that was framed in the way I wanted to see the committee go, to see if we can generate some discussion on what we really need an energy report to say. Senator Vitelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too am a little bit torn about this. I am all in favor of coming up with a good energy plan. I also support incremental change when it makes sense. So I'm torn between the fact that this is an imperfect tool, but it does move us slightly closer to where I think we need to be, which is to get a good energy plan on paper. So I'm still wavering. On the other hand, I'm not sure that having 24 hours is going to make much of a difference at this point.
Other debate or discussion? Representative Barry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe we could just hear from the governor's energy office one more time as to how it would impact their work over the coming year, almost year, between now and January. If we do or do not act, sort of how that would frame their work. And presumably it's really the next 1.5, maybe 2 years, because the whoever's in that office will be guided by the older section of statute versus the newer. Will we have another energy plan that is based on the old language? Or what happens if we do or do not act over the next 2 years? And Mr. Burgess, could we bring in Director Burgess, Jason?
Is he still there? Or can you bring him back over, Jason?
Yes, he's still here.
And did you follow Representative Barry's question, Director Burgess?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm bringing him back over right now.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm here now, Senator Lawrence.
Great. Did you follow Representative Barry's question?
I think so. So what I heard it right is how would it impact the next year plus? We have multiple reports coming out and plans by topic coming out in the next couple of months. We've got an energy storage report coming out very soon. We've got a couple of different offshore wind and energy related reports that will inform kind of this type of process. As mentioned a little bit yesterday, the New England Clean Energy Connect stipulation allocated $500,000 for a quote deep decarbonization analysis, and so that stipulation requires our office to work with some of the other stipulating parties and the general public on that analysis, and we're planning to start that pretty soon. And I would expect, pending when we can get the RFP out and how that works, I think our tentative goal is to have that done by the end of this year. So there will be a broader plan around decarbonization and the state's role in it. And so I think there is going to be I think that's going to move forward, I think, regardless of this. And so this is really looking at 2023, at the end of 2023.
So
follow up.
Yeah. So thank you for that, Director Burgess. So if there were a plan put together, let's say between January and April, if it passed without an emergency preamble, as most bills do, it would likely take effect in September of 2023. What would be the plan that you would put forward for that year?
Sorry, Representative Barry, what would be the plan I'd put forward for 2023 or 20?
Yes. So the next plan is currently due when? Remind us that.
I think that's up for some discussion. I think we would say that what we submitted this week qualifies to achieve the current statute, and so depending on how you read the current statute, it says 2009, and then every 2 years thereafter.
Mm-hmm.
So is that the odd numbered year, or is it 2 years after the plan is filed? Some question there, but I guess my sense is we're going to do this deep decarbonization plan that would definitely meet what's in statute right now, and that's likely to be done by this year. or by the end of this year. So would be available by 23.
Got it. And that deep decarbonization plan is something that has been directed by the legislature. Is that right?
It was in the NECEC stipulation, the funding provided, and so the it's pretty general what's in the funding, but is a funding for planning, and would be you know, I think our intent is to go through a public process to help define the scope and define what it looks like, and obviously take input. Yeah.
So that could help.
Follow-up question, Representative Berry.
Thank you. Yes. So that work could help to inform or become part of the plan for the next plan that you file, your office files 2 years from now or in fall of 2023, depending on how you read the statute, correct?
Correct.
Great.
Any other questions, Representative Berry?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Director Burgess, would, if we want to support that general direction, is the current statute, the current statute as it reads now, more conducive to that progression that you just described, or would the improved language, well, I'll call it the different language in this bill, be more conducive to that?
Thanks, Representative Berry. I'm not. The decarbonization funding that we have, will, the analysis and the modeling and the work that will come with that, I think is something that we're planning on doing. And I think, so it's hard for me to say what's more conducive or not. I think we tick many of the boxes that were kind of listed and requested, and certainly be a public process, which we encourage EUT to participate and provide input on. But I'm not sure if that helps answer the question.
Maybe I should have asked it differently, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Representative Berry, go ahead.
The state has enacted a number of changes around our sort of energy goals, greenhouse gas initiative. We have GoPIF. There is a lot of planning activity. So, the point really is whether, for me, whether our current energy plan statute is consistent with that general direction or not, and whether this new language, as you've rewritten it, is more consistent, or whether the current language is more consistent with those other activities as directed in recent statute and under the leadership of GoPIF and the GEO.
Thanks, Representative.
Directionally. I'll add the word directionally.
The statute as it exists makes mention and considers states' energy goals and requirements. So that is in there now, in a number of different avenues, and some of it is outdated, right? The parts that we've struck. So the kind of text we put together quickly does, I think, cover the broad strokes and themes and makes it a little bit more general to meet those requirements. So if that helps.
Representative Berry, any follow-up?
Yes, I hesitate to bring this idea up, but I do think that if the 130th legislature decides to let go of this idea, it's unlikely to come back, or there's a good chance that it won't come back. And that's my greater
I guess I was
fear.
asking, do you have any additional questions for Mr. Burgess?
Thank you. Good point. I do not, so I don't want to keep it if no one else has any.
Thank you very much, Dan. We're going to send you across again. Representative Berry, you wanted to debate and discuss?
I do. Thank you. I just want to make the observation that if the committee is not ready to vote on this language as it's currently put together, I would be inclined to turn this bill into a resolve that allows the committee perhaps with the assistance of the governor's energy office, to have a meeting or two in the interim and rewrite the plan, because I just don't think it will happen. I don't feel enough certainty that it will happen if we leave it to chance. You know, I've been on the committee off and on since 2007, and it's getting a lot of cobwebs in it. Representative Wadsworth may or may not agree.
Thank you. Representative Foster, did I see your hand up?
Well, I did. I was going to ask something of Director Burgess, but I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay. And for further debate and discussion, I'm just concerned that we're creating more work for the GEO at this point to try to do what we're in this language. And if it's not exactly what we want, then it's best to have them operate under the current statute and the current reports they have, and for us to get it right and clear direction to them on what we want to do. Representative Foster?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And now I will voice an opinion. I gathered from what I heard from the Governor's Energy Office that with or without this language change, the statute change, they will continue and can do their work. No one, I think, spoke more than I did about the lack of a detailed plan, and I still am concerned about that. However, I think I also heard that that plan may be more fruitful once the Governor's Energy Office has completed some of the work that Director Burgess indicated he was doing. So I would think at this late date, this late time in the session, that it would be better to wait and see, so to speak, and I would oppose the moving this forward at this time. Thank you.
Representative Grochowski?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to clarify if I'm reading it right. And Lindsay, maybe you can help me. I think this is actually less work, because the original statute said there needed to be a plan by January 15th, 2009, and updated every 2 years thereafter. So I think it means that there's one due January 15th, 2023, because I take a year to mean like 365 days. But the new version says December 1st, 2023, which is farther out, and every 4 years thereafter. And I don't know if we like 4 years, but it to me seems like actually this is less work. Am I reading that wrong?
I think in looking at existing statute, I mean, January 15, 2009, and submit an updated plan every 2 years thereafter. So I mean, I would read that to be that we would end up 2009, 2011, so it would be in the odd years. Now we've just received one in an even year. So I don't know exactly where that leaves us. And I haven't reviewed the stricken language, the edits that we just received today. So I can't speak to anything with respect to the new plan.
Any other debate or discussion? Okay, Jason, why don't you call the roll?
Senator Lawrence.
No.
Senator Lawrence is a no. Senator Vitelli.
Yes.
Senator Vitelli is a yes. Senator Stewart.
No.
Senator Stewart is a no. Representative Barry.
Yes.
Representative Barry is a yes. Representative Cuddy. Not present. Representative Grochowski.
Yes.
Representative Grochowski is a yes. Representative Kessler.
Yes.
Representative Kessler is a yes. Representative Ziegler.
Yes.
Representative Ziegler is a yes. Representative Sachs.
Yes.
Representative Sachs is a yes. Representative Wadsworth.
No.
Representative Wadsworth is a no. Representative Grignon. Not present. Representative Foster.
No.
Representative Foster is a no. Representative Carlo. Not present. That is 6 in favor. Ought to pass as amended. 4 opposed and 3 absent.
Okay. So as far as since I was first on the vote, my report will be on not to pass. You can ask the others what their report will be.
Senator Stewart.
Not to pass.
Okay. Representative Wadsworth.
ONTP.
Representative Foster.
Ought not to pass.
Thank you.
Great. So we're all set. So this completes our work for today. Thank you all for being so patient and for working so hard. Tomorrow morning, Jason, we are at 9 o'clock, red-eyed and bushy-tailed. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And we just have 4 bills left to do. So hopefully we can be equally as efficient tomorrow and get through those bills, and we will have completed our work. And maybe we can even have Friday afternoon off, which would be good. Any questions before we go? Representative Grochowski?
Can we just have a reminder on the 4 bills? Because the last calendar I saw had 3.
I apologize. I thought there was 4 from what Representative Barry told me before. Can you go over what the bills are?
I think I said 3.
Lindsay, do you have a list of what the bills are?
Yes, what I've got on the schedule right now is LD 1959. This is an act to ensure transmission and distribution utility accountability. LD 1913, an act to review strategies for improving utility rate affordability and to provide utility relief. And LD 1107, an act to create needed broadband infrastructure in rural Maine through the establishment of a satellite-based broadband grant program.
Great. And are those the only 3 bills we have left to vote on in our committee? Is that correct, Lindsay?
I believe so. I will run a report and just double check for tomorrow, but I believe that's
Okay.
all we've got.
Good. You've made my evening even brighter. So I appreciate that. And Lindsay, do you think we'll have language reviews ready for tomorrow? I'm guessing you'll say no.
You are correct.
Okay.
Working on it though.
So refresh my memory, Lindsay. Maybe you don't know this, but once we've stopped meeting as a committee, language reviews, are they then done by email?
I think given some of the language reviews we're going to have, I think it makes sense to get together as a committee, walk through the changes, make
Okay.
sure everybody's on board before we report anything out.
I can check with leadership and see what they want us to do and if they'll authorize us to meet. All right. Representative Grochowski, question.
Yeah, I just did have a quick question. I think I've seen recent drafts of some of those bills, but was there a new draft of 1107 that I missed?
Do you know of one that's been circulated, Lindsay?
I think you'd have to speak to the sponsor.
But has one been circulated that you know of by you?
Let me take a look for the last item that I sent out to the committee on 1107. Bear with me one moment.
Thank you so much.
I know there's a lot of moving parts right now. There was a, let's see, 1107, there was a sponsor amendment sent out along with my bill analysis on March 3rd.
Okay, so apparently Representative Grochowski, that's the last amendment we have. So if you think there's another one out there, maybe you want to get in touch with the sponsor to find out.
Mr. Chair, I can address that a little bit.
Is it your bill, Trey?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll have something for folks. I gotta sort through my emails, make sure that the right thing's going out. But we can have something for folks either tonight or early tomorrow.
Great.
Either way, do you guys have a sense of when you're caucusing?
So my intent would be, and my intent is not always what everybody wants to do, but my intent is to get right started on the bills, see what we can get done, and then once we get stuck, to caucus to try to break the logjam.
Okay, so I'll try to get something to you by tomorrow morning at the latest, probably but before we start at 9, I'll try to get something to you.
Great. And if you guys are going to caucus, I would ask that you simply do it like 8:30 or 8 o'clock or something, you know, and see if we can get caucuses done beforehand so we can start acting right at 9. Other questions about the process? Well, seeing none, again, congratulations on all the good work you did today and getting everything done. And I'm hoping tomorrow will go very smoothly. And we're going to wish Lindsay the best, because I'm sure she'll be up very late tonight working on things and getting it ready for us. And as I said, please do be kind to Jason and Lindsay, because this is a very, very busy time of the session for them. Thanks, and we'll see you all tomorrow.